Helps if I unmute. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Before I do, I just want to say a huge thank you to Includability for inviting us along on your journey. It's just a total privilege to be here and to be part of it and to meet all of you. The community is really incredible. This is me. Yeah, this is me. So really, I'm here to talk about a couple of different things. I am going to put a timer on though, because I'm not very good at sticking to time. And I, just should do that. Got my 12 minutes. Before I really go into, more about this little person on the screen, I want to just say that, the subject I'm going to cover is mental health. And my journey does include some really difficult moments. I will talk a little bit about them. So, if anybody feels overcome or like it's bringing up any feelings for them that are uncomfortable, I'm going to hang around here after. I'm not a mental health professional, but I am somebody who has lived experience and who can help signpost you to the right places. So this is me, I guess, when I was about 4 years old. Now I've got a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old now, so I'm sort of seeing them at this age. And what I'm remembering is that from as young as this age, I was labelled. I was labelled all of these things. I mean, I cannot explain just how possible it is for a 4-year-old to be labelled all of these, but I was, and I continued to be throughout my adolescence, through school, through university. I recognise, only having lived through the years that I have lived through since then, that actually some of the experiences that I had that prompted other people to label me these words were actually, they were strengthening experiences, they were growing experiences. And it was only when I became an adult and was armed with the language to use to help to actually understand how to explain my own emotional journey that I could really identify that. When I was that age, when I was 4, I would decline. Sorry, I've got a very sore arm, by the way, so I'm going to probably clutch it at some points. Just ignore me. But yeah, at 4, I declined to be Red Riding Hood in the school play. And it was incredibly traumatic. I remember so well bawling my eyes out in just outside the classroom on the playground. I didn't want to be Red Riding Hood because I was terrified of the wolf, who was going to be a peer, actually, a fellow student called Alistair, who would be in my class all my school life. I had a really, really vivid imagination. I still do. And what I realise now, looking back, is that that was just my vivid imagination, which makes way for my empathy, or the empathy that I have. That was just the first sign of it, I guess. In Scotland, we start school young, by the way, in case you're wondering why a 4-year-old was, going to do a school play at all. But, later on in life, I would start to display symptoms of depression, of anxiety. And, after years and years of kind of being handed out sweets from the doctor that turned out to be antidepressants, because that's how easily they would hand them out. You'd basically look at a picture that looked a bit like a splodge of black paint, and depending how you answered the question from the doctor, they would hand out some antidepressants. After years of that, after years of different types of therapy, I really started to kind of put myself back together, or what I thought I was doing was putting myself back together, but actually I ended up really kind of putting myself into a real false sense of security, really just depending on these medications, on these types of therapy. I got divorced when I was very young. I got divorced when I was 28. And at a point in my life where I thought that I was strong, I am capable, I don't need medication. I mean, who goes through a divorce and thinks that? I don't know. With the history that I'd had, I fell into a severe depressive episode. I tried everything. I tried all sorts of holistic approaches to improve my mental health. I tried chanting. I don't know if anyone else here has ever chanted. There's something, it releases something in your throat and your vocal cords, and actually it was quite therapeutic. But you know, I was severely depressed. I could barely get out of bed, and so it wasn't going to work for me. That wasn't going to cut it. I went to yoga classes and just cried the entire time, until the point came when I physically could not lift my head, couldn't lift a fork, couldn't do anything, felt sick the whole time, was exhausted the whole time, was crying, was tired, I called my mum in a complete state and just said, I don't think I can do it anymore. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know the next thing that's going to help me. I got hospitalized. I was an inpatient at a mental health hospital. And unfortunately, after 2 weeks of being in that hospital and being on a home visit, having ticked all of the boxes on the silly form that they give to a patient that says, you know, risk of absconding, risk of self-harm, risk of suicide. I'm like, nope. I went home with the full intention of ending my life because I felt like I couldn't live like that anymore. Just wasn't going to be possible. And I did. I tried to take my own life. I tried very, very hard to take my own life, and I almost died. This story ends, I'd say happily. I won't say happily ever after because I don't believe in fairy tales anymore. But this story does end happily on a positive note, because I finally, when that obviously was my rock bottom. I thought I was at rock bottom, but that was it. And I went back to the hospital, and I finally was put on the right, I guess, combination of medications, and I found the right therapist and the right type of therapeutic approach that worked with me. And I started to put all of these pieces of my jigsaw puzzle back together. And I'm now 40. God, that's terrifying. But I'm now 40. And I was 28 at the time. And what I now realise at the age of 40 is that all of these words down the right-hand side are the wrong words. They are uneducated labels for the words on the right. So actually, the extent to which I worry about not just myself but everybody else is actually just a sign of like my considerate nature. A drama queen. I'm really not a drama queen. Also, like, sometimes a drama queen can kind of be a positive thing. I'm really passionate. I'm really, really passionate. I think deeply, I feel deeply, and I want to express things deeply. I am not fragile. In fact, far from it. I am authentic. I am not afraid to be vulnerable. That's strength. And I'm not oversensitive. I am completely in tune with how others are feeling. And that is a high emotional, a high EQ. None of that you could have told my 28-year-old self and would I have believed. But having done the work and having put that jigsaw back together, I now do. So I started to really understand what my core values were. I started to build myself back up. I became a social media consultant, freelance, and I started to have a family. I met a wonderful person who is now my husband, and we had two incredible children who are now 6 and 3, like I said before. And I realised that they are not getting the education at all around mental health and well-being that I assumed that the education system by now would have sorted out. So I became a very accidental CEO of a youth mental health charity, and this is why. So these statistics tell us about your future workforce, and there's a really I'm incredibly grateful to the platform that Includability has given us in order to connect with all of you, because what I really want to do in these next 2 minutes 46 seconds is share with you why we really need to invest in young people right now. And if anybody is interested in finding out more, to get in touch with me, okay? So very quickly, this first statistic, 1 in 6, that has gone up in the last, in 3 years already. It's gone up. It used to be 1 in 9. So it's now 1 in 6. The suicide rate, ask anybody and they'll tell you after last year's statistics got released that suicide rates haven't gone up and everyone was panicking for no reason and the pandemic hasn't impacted it. That's not true, because there is a very, very clear future workforce demographic that has been affected more than they have, it's higher than it's ever been on record since recording began. There is a group of young people who are referred to the child and adolescent mental health services that get rejected because they don't meet what's something called criteria. We hear about them because their teachers then apply to us. Over 200 school children die every year by suicide. So I accidentally became the CEO of this youth mental health charity called Beyond. And there's 3 things that we do. We improve access to mental health provisions, because fundamentally in schools, there is very limited access and knowledge, actually not even just in schools, but in terms of the parent carer community as well. We fund urgent youth mental health support. That means that we award dedicated funding to educational settings so that they can bring in tailored, bespoke, personalised interventions from all of these provisions that we have now increased their awareness of. And we amplify youth voices, particularly youth voices that represent very underrepresented communities. We've got an incredible group of youth mental health advocates that co-produce all of our work with us. In terms of increasing awareness of services and support, this is what made me accidental, because as a volunteer, I decided that we were going to do this incredibly ambitious thing in the middle of the pandemic at a time when the charity had 0 money in the bank account. And we were going to bring together, mobilise the mental health community. And we were going to ask them to volunteer their time to deliver online workshops for young people. We were going to build a resource hub that provided free lesson plans for teachers to roll out. We pulled in loads of different celebrities to have online conversations with young people. And it has become an annual event. Over 1,200 educational settings each year from all over the UK take part in it. So then I put all of this information into a database that looks like this. For the first time ever in the UK, an educator can log in, search by postcode. Oh no, that's my timer. Search by postcode and find a local mental health provision. I'm going to keep going, by the way, I've got 1 more minute. We enable access to those interventions. So meet Ava Lilly. She's our 12-year-old youth board member. She's the youngest youth board member of Beyond. She is a force to be reckoned with. She's currently sitting on a 4-year waiting list for an autism assessment. That's the state of the situation on the ground. 4 years. She's going to have done her GCSEs by the time she gets it. She almost died a couple of times. And Beyond was able to provide funding to her school, and that enabled them to then bring in tailored intervention in the shape of a school counsellor. These are some very lovely testimonials, but also incredibly tragic ones as well. So this is a school on the right-hand side that says that every week they've got at least 10 students who've had suicidal thoughts, low mood, or attempted suicide, yet none of those students will meet criteria for CAMHS. So they will never receive timely mental health support. Oh, can't switch. These are our youth board members. They are an incredible group of advocates that represent the diversity. You say the word diversity and people automatically assume underrepresented communities. Yes, that's one part of it, but diversity spans age, it spans geographic location, it spans mental health or lived experience of any sort. It spans gender, sexual identity, and it spans racialized communities. So this is a group of incredibly passionate advocates who want to just share their voices to improve the state of young people's mental health in the UK. Why am I here? Why am I talking to you right now? Because there's a number of different ways that either we could partner with you or we could partner with anybody in your network that you might know that might be interested. there's loads of different things that we can do. We've had people climb Kilimanjaro. We've had, we provide speaker packages if climbing a massive mountain isn't your thing. And we can deliver really incredibly thought-provoking topics from our roster of speakers. And at the same time, you're creating a social impact and you're actually funding an intervention into a school. So, Paul, I promise I'm finished. If anybody is interested in finding out a little bit more about what we do, please drop me a line. That is my email address. I'm sure that Paul wouldn't mind connecting you if you've forgotten it. But I'm going to leave it up there just for a couple of seconds, just in case anyone needs to write it down. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Louisa, thank you. And you're absolutely fine. Keep that up there until the end. And look, not only, Louisa, are you considerate, passionate, authentic, with a high EQ, you're just an incredible and awesome person who does such magnificent work. And A, that's why we get on kind of so well, but B, it's about making as much difference as we possibly can, which is why we're all here. I think on that note, it's really worth mentioning, for people that don't know, for people that have children, for people that are in the education setting, Includability has launched for the education setting, and it's entirely free for schools to sign up. There is no cost. We just want to build a community when we know there are budgetary constraints, there are education gaps, but there are also incredible people doing incredible things that if we can bring them together. Yeah, we've partnered with Beyond. So Beyond is one of the member benefits, just an introductory phone call. Yes, you could go and do that off of your own back. We're trying to make it as easy as possible for all of you. We've partnered with Alice Hendy from Ripple, and a prerequisite is that the Ripple tool, that will bring up a message of hope if somebody Googles, self-harm or suicidal techniques. It has to be deployed across the organization. It's free for education settings to do that. So we want to bring all of this awareness and all of this incredible support together to make as much impact on what is ultimately our future workforce, as Louisa mentioned, but also importantly as parents who need to provide that support, as teachers who need to support the people. There is so much that we need to do, and that is why we're here. That is our purpose. Please get in touch with Louisa if you have any questions, if you want to chat, if anything that we can do to link you up, we are here for that. The youth board that Louisa mentioned is incredible. I have had the pleasure of spending a few days with Johnny Benjamin. We filmed with Johnny Benjamin. We're going to be filming with Antonio. I've had conversations with Ben West. It is the most incredible of communities that makes the biggest difference.
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second and just tell you in a couple of sentences who some of these people are, because Antonio Ferreira is a 25-year-old young black man from London who was sectioned for 2 years with schizophrenia. Every single thing, every barrier was against him, every barrier. He is now not only thriving emotionally and mentally, he's studying psychology and cognitive neuroscience. He is prolific anti-racism campaigner, mental health campaigner. He has single-handedly called to account every senior mental health leader in the UK for their tokenistic anti-racist promises, because they are very incredibly tokenistic, but actually he has lived experience of how tokenistic they are. He has done so much in such a short space of time. He's about to launch another campaign, so watch this space. We've got young people that cover neurodiversity, that talk about EDI, that talk about eating disorders, self-harm, from a place of lived experience. Hearing it from young people is what makes a difference. That is the catalyst for change, is giving that person an audience. So yeah, sorry, just thought I'd tell you how.
That's fine. And we obviously missed one, which is Shocker. And Shocker, so go on to the Jack platform. So jack.org, Dave will put it in the link as well. But Johnny Benjamin's on there talking about his experience. Not only that, but he's also got a documentary, so watch that. But also Shocker talking about his experience of living with psychosis. He's an incredible human being, and it is that power of storytelling and sharing a story that can provide hope, inspiration, empowerment, sometimes recognition. So look, thank you ever so much to Sarah, to James, to Emma, to Louisa. Anything that we can do to create introductions, to tell stories, to make an impact, please just get in touch with us. Have an amazing rest of the day, an amazing rest of the week. Hopefully see you all next month, and please do share the link, because the more people we can get on these, the more incredible they're going to be. But look, thank you ever so much, and have an amazing rest of the day, everyone.